So I've completed my board and I'm happy with it. Played a couple games on it. Everything seemed to really go good. So what's next? What's next for HeroQuest? Oh, right. A second floor. We're moving on up. So what does Kellar's Keep do as an expansion to HeroQuest? Well, being one of the first expansions released for the game system, the biggest asset to it is you get new quests, a whole new campaign where you travel through the mountains to save the king that's holed up in Kellar's Keep and is besieged by the forces of evil. Can you make it there? And it's not the easiest thing to do, mainly because the number of ogres, goblins, and abominations, familiars if you're old school, have doubled. You get a whole new set of those in the box. Now, some people complain, well, they're the same models and whatever else. You're overthinking this. It's about the sheer number. You're besieged, you're overwhelmed. That's the whole point. Who cares if it's the same sculpt? Grow up. But it also gives us other tiles. Namely, we get 12 more single wall block tiles. So now you can make even more of a maze upon your board. You get a cliff, which is basically a broken walkway, a furnace, a map pieces to find your way to the secret passage that'll lead you to the king, 2 new pit traps, a boulder, and then 2 special tiles that allow you to travel through trapdoors between 2 rooms. Kind of a fast travel concept. In the newer release of the game, you get a tile for a statue that's not used anywhere or any place, but if you need it, you have it. You also get a whole slew of cards that you can use as well that allow you to expand out your treasure deck and your artifact deck. Neat things in there like a fire ring and other things like that. But the biggest component that's added to it is these. These are the stair tiles. And they are used in a few different quests and basically imply that you were changing elevation within the map. Now, that does not mean that if you are in a room here, that you can go into a room in the same location on the second floor. That's not really how this whole thing works. It's just this room is up higher than this room is. That's really the only difference between it. So I made this custom board, and the question comes down to, well, how would I do Kellar's Keep? I've been trying to figure that one out since I started this. And I've seen other people make attempts at it, and they're very viable attempts. And I think those are good solutions, especially if you don't want to get too vertical. Because again, my game board here may be too high for some individuals who are playing with it, depending on where your location is. If you're needing shorter walls and things like that, and you don't want to get too vertical, then those other solutions are really good. I really think that they're smart ideas. That's not what I did at all. Now, I am going with a more 3-dimensional setting here. And the tiles are great when you are working on a flat board and you're doing stuff on that flat board. When you don't want to get super fancy and do the deluxe system, like what I'm doing here or whatever the people are doing with their 3D builders, and you're just wanting to use the board as it is, the tiles are perfect and fantastic and we love them. But if you're doing a 3D system, you need to build things up. Now, when I made my walls and everything like that, I already went ahead and made tiles for the number of extra wall pieces that are there. So I know I have enough of these. Most of the other expansions that you get in all the other releases for HeroQuest, you only get 6 more single wall blocks. But for Kellar's, you got 12. Which seems excessive, but there's a couple little mazes in there that really pan off for you. The other big thing is the furnace tile. I mean, the furnace is great and it's distinct and you can see it on the board pretty well. But we're going 3-dimensional. I've got a 3-dimensional tile to take place on the game board. Another component is the boulder. Great, it's a boulder. We should actually have a boulder that rolls around on the table and can run into your heroes. Again, made this a long time ago because I knew it was going to happen, and it's not bad. Same material, foam, works great. The trapdoors, nothing needs to be done with that. The map pieces, nothing needs to be done with that. The statue, basically you could go buy any suit of armor figurine and there's your statue and you're ready to go. There's other expansions that actually come with little statues, so you could just use one of those in that place too. And basically that sums everything up except the stairs, which are 2 long stairs and 4 short stairs. So I made stairs, and those stairs work within the confines of my board. I've got my 5 set, I've got a 3 set, and I've got enough to even up with all of these. Let's follow the process of me building the whole thing, and we'll see how we are at the end. Again, if you are not familiar with how I built my main baseboard thing, I don't know how you stumbled across this, but if you did, hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not here for money. I'm not here for profit. These are just fun videos I'm sticking on the internet for you and your entertainment. Maybe it inspires you, maybe it doesn't. Doesn't matter to me. If you want to go watch those videos, great. If you don't, just go watch the last one and probably just the last chunk of the last one and you'll get your understanding. This again is going to be a multiple part video series, and in the end of it, we'll have the whole thing laid out and ready to go. Now, due to poor planning on my part, you're going to see a lot of interstitial cuts and things like that and additive videos put in throughout the rest of the series. Mostly because as I was recording things, I wasn't really commenting on it or keeping a good note of where I was in the process. So there might be some things that are going to be really kind of disconjointed. That's just how life is. If you see my shirt change a lot and I gain weight and I have a broken arm at one point, that's also why. So first and foremost, the one thing that I want to say after you got done seeing me sitting at the table is basically, where did I start? The first point where I started was when I made my initial board. I immediately cut a second one using the same material. So this is that 4x8 half-inch foam board that I bought from Home Depot. You can get that pretty much anywhere. This is just pink insulation foam, XPS, whatever. There's enough material in a 4x8 to make 3 boards. I made my baseboard. I've made the second floor. I have no plans on making a third one unless somebody's wanting to give me a lot of money and a lot of time, because it does take a while to get through all this thing. When I cut that second board, I immediately decided to use this schematic here.
and which is basically, I just took the basic shape of the HeroQuest board and then the dimensions that I had used, and I planned that out and then said, okay, what is the maximum and what is the minimum that I need for walkway pieces and stair pieces and room pieces? The debate came down to, do I cut each room individually? And if you've gone onto different 3D builders for you know, any resin printer or whatever like that, a lot of people have produced things like that, and a lot of them have done the individual rooms with one wall attached or two walls attached, kind of a thing, and then they have it all magnetized and they have it stuck together. If I did that with the foam, I don't think it would be as structurally sound. So I kept the quadrants of the rooms together, and I split the hallway pieces into individual chunks. I made as many big pieces as I could, and then I made smaller pieces so they could be adjustable. Essentially, I was trying to base it off of the 3-tiled stairs. So if I sat there and put the stair tiles between the first 2 rooms on the edge of the board, those first 3 blocks are taken up, and that leaves another 5 blocks to go. So what is the right division for those blocks? Okay, well, that would be a 5-tile and a 3-tile, right? But what if those stairs were moved in 1 block? Okay, now I've got a 1-tile, a 3-tile, and a 4. So it was adjusting the blocks that way and then trying to figure out where the best to go from there. So the most I could do in that space was a 3 block, and the least I could do was a 1 block. So I had 1s, 2s, and 3s that I was making throughout the duration of it. And the same pattern going around the outside of the board and the rest of the inside of the center room. So with that, that's why I came up with the pattern that you have over here. And then this is multicolored, so if you want to make one of your own, you can. It's also the main image when I'm coming into all these videos. So if you have your screen up, hit pause, do a screen capture, and then you've got the rough plans on there that you can kind of follow as well. I'm not planning on making any files available anywhere. You can get there. I'm going to have measurements and things like that up on different little schematics as well, so that you can kind of rough it out and so that you can measure it out yourself. That is if you are building such a thing like this. You may not be building this thing, and that's fine. Columns. Column pieces, again, using the same XPS foam that I had before. In this case, this was the 2x2, 1-inch thick foam board that I got from Home Depot oh so long ago when I initially started the project. This is perfect for walls and your column pieces. Now, the biggest kicker is, how did I determine what my column pieces were going to be? I made my walls at a 2-inch height. And so I wanted the columns to be taller than the walls, so there was clearance in there in case anything was going to be weird or funky or something like that. So in that case, I decided that I'm going to have 3-inch tall columns. And in fact, let's go measure one right now. And these are finished products here. Again, my squares are 1.5 inches. So that's my universal measurement, and that's how I'm doing all my things. My wall pieces, which again have a couple screws in the bottom, and they attach into the magnet system that's down below, which my walls are set up on a 2 magnets per the 1.5 inches. So as you can see on the holes down here, I've got a pilot hole there that's at the 1/2 inch, that's at a 1/2 inch, so that lines up with my magnet system here. These are right there, 2 inch tall. And the vast majority of these are 2 inches tall. I've got a few of them that are a little bit shorter and some that are a little bit taller, but for the most part, these are all 2 inch tall walls. So here are my column pieces. Column pieces, as you can see, we're going to line that up on the one, and it's just over that 4 inch mark. Because the column itself, the foam itself, is 3 inches tall, and then we've got just the width of the foam board, which is making that additional length in there. And you'll see this in other videos. I'm going to call it out multiple times, but yeah, that's the pattern of the wall spots. So a single wall is going to be lining up within that space there so that it will lock in within the wall system. And again, I've got my single wall blocks here. These are the same height as the walls, that 2 inch block. So those are all going to line up there. So on the board, there's a stop block here. When you come around the corner, all this is lining up, and your heroes are all within a certain scale. And that lines up fairly well with everything. And again, your columns are going to be a lot bigger and a lot sizable. And this particular one is an inside block square, which is basically saying that this is for the inside single tracks, not the outside tracks. And the reason why it's different is because they are using the 2-screw system to lock in. Whereas on my outside edge, I have single screws out here, along with the double screws out here. So the columns that I'm using on the outside edge are locking into both positions. Whereas these over here on the inside edge are not necessarily locking into both sides of the column. Some of them, like this tile, with this block, are only locking into one side. And that is mostly because if we need to have a wall in that position, because you find the lower room first, and so you've put the walls in, then when you've come out to explore the hallway, now you put in a column and you put in your stairs. That's why I have this set up in that manner. Now granted, again, some of them could be set up in this manner, where they're going to go across both spots. I just didn't want it to be something that's going to be tipping people off of, oh, there's a second floor, there's a second floor. That's the only reason why I kind of have it set up so that some of them will be either flush to the walls like that, while others will be going over the entire expanse. I think I'm going to wrap it up at that point, at least for this video. Again, I'm going to have more things to come. I think the next one's going to be more based upon the columns and trying to figure out the bridge system in which it's all based off on. And then we'll go on from there. I've got things kind of broken out to how I want it now. But with so much time being from when I recorded me making the thing and now, I've kind of lost the plot of what I was trying to do. And I want to make this very coherent for you in case you want to make one yourself, or you know somebody that could make one for you and you want to kind of give them something, a guideline. And trust me, the things that I did are not necessarily the right way to do them. They are just the way that I did them. You're going to have your own methods to it. You're going to fix a lot of the problems that I created for myself. And again, this is just a visual creation. It's not a fully practical creation. And that's something to keep into account. So I guess from there, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day or whatever the heck you're doing. Could be nighttime for you. And I guess just you can go to bed. I'm tired.